Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, my name is Anvita. I love to read books, I love to talk about books and more. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be my September wrap up for 2024. It's crazy that it's already October. Happy October to everyone. Crazy, yeah. Air is out today. A Song to Drown Rivers is out today. Crazy month. There's also so many other books that I'm looking forward to reading this month. But yeah, anyways, let's first talk about all the books that I read in September, and and then we'll talk about all the books that I'm hoping to read in October. Let's go. Okay, first I'll give you guys some stats quickly from Storygraph. So I read a total of 10 books. Oh, wait, what? I thought I read 9 books. One sec. Oh, okay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, so I read a total of 10 books in September, which is kind of crazy because I was not expecting to read that many this month. So last month, if you've seen my August wrap up, you'll know that I read more books than I was expecting, but I was also going through kind of a slump. So I was reading mostly graphic novels and manga and stuff. So I read a bunch, but the amount I read, if that makes sense. The amount I read was less, but the number of books I read was pretty good, pretty high. But yeah, this month was about a lot of reading. So quantity is pretty high. It's 10 books. It's not, less, but the amount I read was also pretty high. Anyways, so stats. I read 10 books in September, 3,273 pages. My top 3 moods were adventurous, mysterious, and hopeful. Very interesting. Oh wait, I get why. Never mind. If we had been looking at my moods for just the first 20 days of September, it would have just been dark, sad, emotional, I guess, or yeah, because I was reading an entire series, fantasy series, the first 20 days, and then the rest of the 7 books, I guess, was in the last 10 days. So yeah, I read 80% medium-paced books, and then 20% of my books were fast-paced. There were no slow books. All the books that I read were fiction. I'm still trying to read non-fiction. Hopefully I'll add 1 or 2 in my October hopefuls, but yeah, it's hard picking up non-fiction. I don't know. I'm still reading Viola Davis's memoir, Finding Me. It's just, it needs a lot of mental space. So I haven't been picking it up because of that, because I feel I'm not in the right space for that. So I will get to it. I will finish it, and then I'll read more fiction, non-fiction, hopefully soon. Yeah. So my top genres for September were fantasy, manga, and historical. Makes sense, since the series that I was talking about I read was a historical fantasy, and then a lot of the other books that I read were manga. So yeah, a lot of books were in my physical TBR. So this is all the books that I read from my physical TBR in September. So 7 books out of the 10 books were in my physical TBR. So making good progress, and I haven't bought a book in a while. So good stuff. Yeah, average rating was 4.28, which is amazing. Yeah, 2 5-star reads, 1 4.5-star read, and then 6 of them were 4-star reads. So nothing below 4 stars, but I'm easy to please also. So yeah, anyways, this is what September reading looked like. As you can tell, as I was saying, the first 20 days was literally just one series, and the rest of the 10 days was like books I read to make sure I don't fall in a slump after reading that traumatic series, but also just needing to, move on from it because I kept thinking about, the ending, but also the ending of book 2, and then, yeah. Okay, anyways, if you saw my August wrap up, then you know that I started a series at the end of August, and then I didn't finish it until September. And so that's the first series that I read this month. So first book of September was, I finally did it. I finally read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I think now that I've read the entire series, I'm up to date on all of her books because I've read Babel, I've read Yellowface, and I've read the series. I don't think there's any other books out yet by her, but I'm not completely sure. But yeah, so I finally read this. I've had this book since I was in the US. This is from the last bookstore. Yeah, so I've had this book since 2021. So it's been 3 years since I've had this sitting on my shelves, and I'm so glad I finally read it. But I'm also really glad that I decided to wait until I knew I was in the right mood for it, because I feel like if I'd read this any other time, especially if I'd read this any time in 2021 or 2022, I feel like I would not have finished the series and I would have probably gone down a mental spiral and just, like this series ruined me, and like it was emotionally traumatic, but I'm at the point where I was in the right headspace for it. So like I love it, and like I love the series, but definitely check trigger warnings before you read it or if you decide to pick it up. But yeah, The Poppy War, historical fantasy. It's about a war orphan, Rin, and it's about this academy that she's trying to get into so that she doesn't get married off, and just like her journey. Like saying it now, like saying this description is so interesting because like even when I was like going through my annotations for this book, when I was making my annotation post for Instagram, like I was going through it and I was like, wow, I can't believe all this happened and that all of that led to book 2 and 3. Like so much happens in book 2 and 3 that like this feels like a fever dream. It's insane. But yeah, it has very interesting magic system, kind of. I wouldn't say magic, but like it's like spiritual kind of, and then has to do with gods and and like being conduits to gods and like using their powers, like, and things like that. And then also just the friendship in it, and then the relationships, the way they are is written is just so intricate. And then the way the relationships are written are so intricate, and then you just never know who you're supposed to love and who you're supposed to hate. And even when it might change, and like just anyways, Poppy War, I gave this 4 stars. I think it was a really good introduction to the series, but there was just something missing for me. I don't know what it was. But yeah, I loved Rin, and I loved her. Like, is there character growth in this one? I'm trying to remember. I mean, there is generally, but like I feel like it was still like early stages. So yeah, but I love the characters in this. I love Kitty, of course. Very interesting. A lot happens in this book. This is a lot of like setup for the events of book 2 and 3, just because it's like all the stuff that happens in this is what is needed for Rin to have her character growth, and that starts in book 2 and 3. So yeah, I mean, this was a really good one. I would highly recommend it. Just make sure to check trigger warnings, because there are a lot of graphic, disturbing scenes in it. And yeah, just the way the descriptions are, it's just quite graphic. So yeah, anyways, book 1 of September was The Poppy War. And then, of course, the second book, aka my favorite book in the series. This book actively ruined my life. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, the last couple chapters was insane. Yeah, I think this one was, I mean, the first half was a lot of like character growth, character work, and like, you know, relationship work, shifting relationship dynamics and things like that. So yeah, I think this was a really good book, and like it was really strong with its writing and plot, but like also just like giving time to the characterization and also the relationships. And yeah, it was really good. One of the best sequels I've read in a while. There were some things here and there about it as well that I was like, oh, maybe this would have been better here. This would have, you know, it would have been better if we didn't know this right now, so that we would have the element of surprise later and things like that. But nothing, I mean, even without that, it was great. And you know, we see a lot of like Rin making the same mistakes that she made and like trying to learn from them, but also sometimes failing, sometimes not, things like that. So yeah, I think it was a good book. Yeah, definitely. If you start the series, make sure to check trigger warnings. Don't get attached to any characters. Don't, you know, yeah, don't get attached to any characters. Don't prepare yourself, I guess I would say. Yeah, the last couple chapters in this, I was literally like, I was at a cafe and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And I was like, the entire time. So yeah. Anyways, book 2 of September. Okay, last book, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This one, I think, is probably my least favorite. I'm like still considering it's somewhere between 3.5 stars to 4 stars. Like I gave it 4 stars, but I think it could also be in the 3.5 stars. I talked a lot about my thoughts on this one in my Instagram post, so if you want, you can check that out as well with my annotations. The last part in this as well ruined me, and I was again at a cafe and being like, I should have realized with book 2 that I should not be reading this book outside, just because I was literally crying in public because of this, and trying to stop myself from that. But yeah, the last couple pages was insane. But I think the issue for me mainly was that all the character growth and character work that Rin did in the second book, she was again doing it in this book. Like, I feel like from that we should have had some growth and some change and like, you know, something like the next step, but we only got that somewhat in the last couple chapters. And so it was like all the stuff she did in book 2 is again being repeated in this. She's not learning anything from her mistakes, nothing, you know, it's just repetition. So yeah, and also just like plot, I feel like also kind of went downhill because it was like all over the place, kind of like 1 second we're here, then this doesn't work, then we're here, then this and that. Like it was kind of all over the place. It was, the structure didn't completely work for me. So that was also one of the things. I think there were some other points, but I'm not completely sure I remember them. So they're on my Instagram. You can check it out. But yeah, I think there were things in this that could have been better, could have been reworked. Yeah, I feel like the last couple chapters, like the way Rin became and stuff, like if we had seen more of that in more of this book, it would have been much better, because then it would, you know, all that character work and, you know, the mental jumps that she took to reach that final, you know, final chapters, I feel like it would have been shown much better instead of it being just like a quick decision and just like sudden realization, I guess. Yeah, I think that definitely, yeah. This also I've said before. I think I was talking about this with someone, but I think mentioned this on my Instagram post. But all the R.F. Kuang books I've read have had the similar issue where her starting is so strong. Her starting is so strong, even in like Yellowface and Babel. Like it's so good. The prose is so, you know, precise, and like the plot is so well detailed and well structured and everything. And then the end somehow just completely goes out of control. Just the end just becomes like, I don't know how, like it just goes all over the place, and like there's no, like the ending is never satisfying, or like just it becomes, I don't even know, like chaotic and like unstructured kind of. And so I noticed that with Yellowface, I noticed that with Babel as well. Like the endings had issues for me. And so again, this one as well similarly had issues for me. I had issues with it. But yeah, I think her works I love for its like plot and like prose and like detail and like, you know, just strong plot and characterization in the beginning. But like for some reason the endings just always, you know, yeah, I don't know. It was for this, I'm thinking like this, the last couple chapters ending is good and like I enjoyed it. I just, as a whole of the ending of the series, like this book, I just wish we had seen more of that building up instead of it just coming right at the end, you know? Yeah. Anyways, book 3 of September, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Yeah. Okay, so after finishing that, I was finally in a better space to read romance again. Not completely, but I knew I had enough, you know, I could give enough time to finish a book I'd already started in August. So if you were reading along or if you saw my August wrap up, then you know that my August book for my book club on Fable was You with a View by Jessica Joyce. And so I finally finished it in September. Right after finishing this one, I was like, okay, I can read something happy now. Like, so I ended up finishing it. I had like, I think 3 or 4 chapters left. And honestly, I'm so glad that I gave it time and like stepped away from that book and then came back when I was ready to read about romance again. And so yeah, I think even though, I mean, I had enjoyed the first half or like first 70-80% that I'd read before in August, and like it was good, it's just I was not giving as much, you know, I was not enjoying it as much as I would want to, and I knew it was because of me and not because of the book. And so I'm glad, you know, again, as I said, I'm glad I stepped away from it and came back, because when I read the last couple chapters now, like I really enjoyed it and I really, loved the book. So I'm really, really excited to read more by Jessica Joyce, hopefully soon. But yeah, You with a View by Jessica Joyce. So freaking good. It's like travel, road trip, academic rivals to lovers, like childhood academic rivals to, time skip, and then they meet in the present time and stuff, and like all that. I didn't say this, but somebody said this on my Instagram and it clicked for me. But if you've seen the K-drama Dr. Slump, it kind of has that vibe, because they were academic rivals when they were in school, and then now when they're like both having like tough times and are not as successful as they were hoping and things, like they meet again and then fall in love. So highly recommend You with a View by Jessica Joyce. And yeah, I'm excited to read more books by her, hopefully soon. Okay, after finishing You with a View, I said this in my autumn TBR, and then I also said this in my August wrap-up, I think, but I finally read, I finally read Witch Hat Atelier, book 5 and book 6. Why am I doing this? Okay. I finally read book 5 and 6 of Witch Hat Atelier. Loved it, really good. I love how the story is progressing. Mainly, I think also just the way it's turning kind of dark and mysterious, and like I think getting more insight into the other characters and like their backstory and stuff, like especially, what's his name? Kifri? Yeah. His backstory and like understanding what happened to him and like why he is so hell-bent on finding the brimmed caps and things like that, like really enjoying it. So yeah, I am happy to be reading it, but I'm also scared that I will run out of them. So I'm probably not gonna read any of them in October, even though October is literally like witchy month. I probably won't be reading it unless I see it at the bookstore and I end up buying it, but I probably won't. Yeah, so let's see. But book 5 and 6, right? Yeah, so this was book 5 and 6 of September. And then I decided, so I read all these fast-paced books. I read, You with a View, like a couple chapters to finish it. And so I still wanted to read something fast-paced, something, that would not let me get into a slump, basically. And so I decided one weekend, I was like, I'm not getting out of my house. I'm just gonna read and, just spend time reading. And so you've probably already seen it, but because I made a reading vlog of it. But I finally reread one of my most anticipated reads of the year, The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This was so good. Yeah, it was so good. I read this in 2 sittings. I read this in 2 days, in 2 sittings. And I mean, you can check my reading vlog if you want to know detailed what I thought, what my predictions and theories were, and which ones I ended up getting right, which ones I did not end up getting right, and the ones that shocked me and all that stuff. I'm not going to say a lot about this. All I will say is that it's about Rachel Price, about her disappearing 16 years ago, and it's set kind of documentary style, not completely, like it's in prose, but it has a documentary happening about her disappearance and stuff. And then she comes back, since reappearance, so she comes back, and then you're trying to figure out what happened, why she disappeared, how she disappeared, all the circumstances. And so it's told from the perspective of her 18-year-old daughter, Annabelle Price. And yeah, very good, very insane. I guessed some things, but there were things I did not guess, and that left me really shocked. So yeah, highly recommend. It is not, I will say also this, I'm a scaredy cat. If you guys have been watching my other videos, you probably know this. I'm a scaredy cat, and this did not scare me. I slept just fine after reading this. So on a scary level, this is way less than Five Survive and Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So, if you are a scaredy cat as well, but have been wanting to try some mystery/thrillers, I would recommend this. Yeah, this is definitely more on the mystery side. There's not really thriller, and nobody dies in it. So yeah, not that scary. Oh wait. Anyways, yeah, this was book number 7 of September. Okay, book 8 of September was my September book for my book club on Fable. I was actually not in the mood for this one at all, but I didn't want a repeat of August. Didn't want that I would not finish or read the book that was my book club book for September. And so I started it, and I was still kind of in my I don't want to read about romance, I don't want to read about men and all that stuff. But this book kind of helped with that, because if you know the premise. So anyways, let me start off with saying the book I'm talking about is The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. This is a British literature, contemporary romance fiction, about 3 women on Valentine's Day, and how they've been stood up by the same guy, basically. So it goes in multiple POVs and multiple perspectives of the 3 women, and it's set in their chapters and stuff. And so the entire time I'm reading it, and I'm like, wow, this guy is the absolute worst. He's dating all 3 of them, and basically just being a cheating liar, all that stuff. And then I was like, wow, this is great, because I was like, I don't want to read about men, I don't want to read about romance. And then it didn't feel like romance. I was like, is this even romance? Because all I'm seeing is a cheating liar who's dating 3 women at the same time and stuff. And then we find out the reason, and we get to the end and stuff, and then I'm an emotional wreck, basically. This one actually made me quite emotional, even though I will say that I think 20% in or something, I had guessed what the story was and what the big mystery or plot twist was. So it did not surprise me, but it still made me emotional. The ending and the way it's shown, I guess, was so interesting and so well done and so emotional. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Very surprised. And also this was also the book, I've read The Flat Share by the author and I loved it, but for some reason, or because I'd read the synopsis of The No-Show, I was like, this is not sounding like my kind of book, because I didn't want to read about someone who is cheating and lying to 3 women and stuff. And so I never thought I would pick this book up and stuff, but then because it got chosen as the book club book for September, I was like, okay, might as well do it. And I'm so glad I did, because it was so good, so well written, and just so good. I need to read more by Beth O'Leary. That's what I've taken from this. Since I loved The Flat Share, since I loved this, I just need to trust her and read more of her books, basically. So yeah, very, very good. Highly, highly recommend it. Yeah. Okay. Next was a book that I'd never heard of, never, planned on reading, because I'd never heard of it, and just out of nowhere. So one of my friends on Bookstagram recommended this book and was talking about how like it's her new favorite book and stuff. And so I immediately got it on Libby and ended up reading it. So yeah, book 1 in a duology, Atana and the Firebird by Vivian So. This was so cute and so good, and just like I love graphic novels. If you've seen my other wrap up, then you know I read a lot of them. I love graphic novels. I love how they, especially the ones that are like have like fantasy aspect, and like, but like you can relate it to so many like things in the real world, and like it's so metaphorical, and like the analogies are like endless kind of, and like it's just so good and like so well done, and like yeah, I'm just, yeah, it was a good fun read, very comforting, very warm, and you know, all that. So yeah, I'm really excited for book 2 in the duology, which I think comes out next year, so keeping an eye out for that. And then last book that I read in September was again also Witch Hat Atelier 7. Witch Hat Atelier 7. This was the last book that I own in this series, so now I don't have any of them, so I will be waiting. I have got the Libby hold, I think. I just checked, but yeah, Witch Hat Atelier book 8 is currently available on my Libby, and so I might read it in October, but most probably I won't, just because I don't want to run out of them, and I think there are only 13 volumes out right now, so that means I have 6 more to go. Yeah, and I don't want to run out of them, so I'll slowly get there, but most probably, unless I'm like really in the mood for that, I won't be reading it in October. We shall see. Yeah, we shall see. Last book that I read in September, and probably one of my favorite ones in this volume, because like we finally get to Kifri and Olrugio's backstory and their friendship and how it evolved and all of that, and just like, you know, how they became the way they are right now. Look at little Kifri and Olrugio. Okay, anyways, yeah, really loved this one. I'm really excited to read more of the series. Yeah. Oh, this won an award. Fun stuff. Okay, anyways, this was the last book that I read in September. So okay, here are all the books that I read in September, physical TBR, plus the 3 books that I read on my iPad. Okay, moving on to my October hopefuls. I have a few books on my physical TBR that I'm hoping to read in October, but I've also planned to read some ebooks in October, which I'll also talk about. First, I've already started this book. I've already talked a lot about this book, so you probably know it's coming, but yeah, I'm already on page 85, but Air by Sabaa Tahir. It's October 1st today, by the way, so this is just now out in the world, so you should go get your copies ASAP. But yeah, I am reading Air right now. I'm this much done with it, and definitely going to finish this in September. Definitely going to be finishing this in October. So very excited. Loving it so far. So, I mean, what did you expect? It's Sabaa Tahir. Okay, anyways, I'm also hoping to read The Lilies. This one, I don't know much about. I think I remember it being, yeah, it's a thriller. It is based on like dark academia thriller. It has like some secret society. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but excited to read it. Yeah, bury the secrets, remember the promise. The Lost Apothecary. This I mean, if you saw my autumn TBR, then you know. A lot of the books are from that. So yeah, The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Yeah, Secret Network of Women, Poison and Revenge, set in the 18th century London. Sounds fun. Sounds like perfect for October, and it's, you know, spells and potions and that vibe. So another book, but in a different way. The Spell Shop. Excited to read this. I feel like this is gonna be warm and cozy and fun, and like, not like, I don't know why when I see this cover and when I see this book, I think of Legends and Lattes. So I'm thinking the vibe of that will be similar to this, like the kind of vibe I got while reading them. So yeah, Secret Spell Shop, Faraway Island, Unexpected Romance. Yeah, exciting. Next, if I need some like fast-paced books that I need to read immediately and like read in like 1 or 2 sittings, How to Kill a Guy in 10 Ways. I feel like this is gonna be a fun mystery thriller. Yeah, and I'm excited to read this in October. Okay, last book in the physical TBR section, Nettle and Bone, again from my autumn TBR. Yeah, excited to read this, excited for some, you know, good descriptions, but also just like sister relationships and like witches and princes and all that stuff. Yeah, excited to read this. Other than these books, I'm also planning on reading Castle of the Cursed by Romina Garber. This is a book club book on Fable, in the Two Baddies One book club on Fable. I'm excited to read this. This was picked as a book for October because of its vampires and, you know, so it's a dark gothic romance set in Spain with supernatural aspects and filled with family mystery and secrets. And it was picked as the book for October because the song they chose for October was Favorite by NCT 127. And so I'm hoping to read this in October as well. Hopefully my Libby comes through with the book. We'll let you guys know. I'm excited. I haven't heard much about this book. I haven't heard anything about this book, to be honest. And it was my first time seeing it in this. So excited to read it. Yeah. And then my book club book, I'm gonna be reading Immortal Dark by Tigest Gurma. I hope I'm saying that right. Immortal Dark. And if you want to read it with me, join with the link below. Yeah, excited for this. It has vampires, it has dark academia, it has fantasy, it has vampires. You know, that's the kind of vibe I'm in. And just, I feel like October needs to just be like witchy and vampire-y and like supernatural and all that stuff. So a lot of books in that vibe. We shall see if that is the vibe that I stick with, but those are the books that I'm hoping to read in October, and definitely will end up reading more that are not from this list. But as you guys know, I will be posting an October wrap up at the end of the month, so keep an eye out for that to see which ones of these that I read in October, and also which ones I haven't mentioned that I end up reading. So anyways, that was all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time, next Monday, 5 p.m. IST. I hope you guys have a good day.